A human rights lawyer, joining us via Zoom to give his perspectives on the legality of the nationwide protest. Good evening, Marshall, and thank you so much for joining us.
Good evening. It's quite a pleasure to be here with you today. Good evening.
All right, it's good to have you here. Now, there have been arguments and counter-arguments on the legality or otherwise of the organized labor's protest. Now, what is your legal perspective on the protest?
Well, this is quite simple, and this has been laid to rest. Protests is a fundamental right of Nigerian workers. The right to embark on peaceful protest is one that is enshrined in the Constitution. It is one recognized by the African Charter of Human and People's Rights, Section 39 of the National Constitution for us to freedom of expression. It's also one that's recognized by Section 40 as the right to freedom of movement. So the protest, peaceful protest embarked upon by organized laborers and the CSOs today, it is one that is backed by law, the grandam of Nigeria. Nigerian workers and Nigerians indeed have a right to protest. Protest, like we've always insisted, is a fundamental human right of Nigerians. And the right to protest cannot be abrogated by any court of law, by any institution, or by any agency of government in any manner whatsoever, unless if the Constitution itself, which is the ground that donates this right, would be amended by the drafters of the same Constitution. Any law, any enactment, any pronouncement that seeks or attempts to take away this right is unlawful, null and void to the extent of its Constitution, or to the extent of its inconsistency. No judge, I repeat, no judge either of the National Industrial Court or the Federal High Court or any other courts in the land can abrogate the rights of Nigerian workers or indeed any person in Nigeria to embark on peaceful.
All right.
And the Court of Appeal has upheld this particular provisions and this particular rights. In the case of IGP against ANPP, where it was unequivocally held that the rights of Nigerians to embark on peaceful protest by carrying placards to register dissent against unpopular government policies is a right that's recognized by our Constitution. So no authority or person can abrogate this right or can take this right away. And it must also be restated and re-emphasized that this right has also been recognized even before the coming into effect of the Nigerian Constitution. And by the case of Ebuta versus FRN, in the case of versus versus states, in the case of Okonko versus state, where the court has admonished Nigerians after striking certain portions of the criminal code not to relent or hand over their right to peaceful protest, which they've won, or the right to expression, which they've won from the colonial era.
All right, Marshall.
So the labor were in order today by embarking on that strike. I also took part in that strike by embarking on that protest.
Marshall, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, please.
All right, thank you for that interesting take. Now, in addition to that, now we all know that the disputes between the labor unions and the government is actually still pending in court, on the same subject matter. Now, do you foresee an amicable resolution of this particular dispute?
Yes, we do. And I think it's in the best interest of all parties. As we speak now, I learned that the president of the TUC and that of the NLC are meeting with the president at the Aso Villa. I think it's in the best interest of this government to listen to Nigerians who have spoken loud and clear by the very successful peaceful protests across the country today, where they have come unequivocally that the government has no right to disregard the demands and yearnings of Nigerian people. The Nigerian people have spoken in unison, and we have demanded from the government that certain things must be done before the subsidy issue can be addressed or removed. We must have functional refineries. There are certain demands that have been made of the government. So we think it's in the best interest of all parties to ensure that this matter is, as soon as possible, resolved amicably, so we can have industrial harmony, we can have peace in our society. On the issue of court, the matter in court, there is no order restraining labor from embarking on peaceful protests.
All right,
we represented labor in that particular case.
Marshall, if you can hear me. Yes, if you can hear me, earlier we spoke to the head of information and public affairs of the NLC, and he said they actually have, other options on ground. They actually threatened a strike action should the government not heed their demands and come to a consensus. Now, looking at the impact of a strike action on the economy, what would you advise? I
would advise the government to do the needful quite quickly, so that this matter can be resolved. The right to embark on strike is also a right to Nigerian workers. The Trade Union Act of 2005 gives to the Nigerian workers the right to embark on strike. And this right has been recognized by several judgments of the court. As a matter of fact, this right to strike is also driven from the crown of the Constitution. So the workers are in the rights if they insist on embarking on strike, if their demands are not being met by the government. It is their right to embark on strike. The ILO Convention, Section 80, ILO Convention 89, ILO Convention 90, 87, clearly recognizes the right of Nigerian workers or any worker anywhere in the world to embark on strike.
Well, all right, Marshall, sadly, time is not on our side, but thank you so much for your contribution on this issue. We really, really appreciate your take on this.
Thank you. Thank you.